This is a ham and cheese sandwich. Looks pretty tasty, doesn't it? Probably costs about $5. But can this sandwich make you a better modeler? Let's find out. No, quite clearly, this sandwich will not make you a better modeler. But for less than the cost of that same sandwich, every month, TrainMasters TV will bring you over an hour of entertainment and information that will help you to build a better layout. Whether it's a hands-on demo with an experienced clinician, a visit to a train exposition or museum, a profile of a model train manufacturer, or a tour of a great model railroad, TrainMasters delivers the best the hobby has to offer. TrainMasters TV brings you new techniques with modelers who really know their stuff, and documents the people in our hobby who are passionate about what they do. All delivered online in vivid high-definition video and stereo audio. TrainMasters TV, only from Model Railroad Hobbyist Magazine.
By any measure, Streamliners at Spencer at the North Carolina Transportation Museum is a big event. With more than 24 vintage cab units on hand, plus one very special steam locomotive, there's plenty for attendees to see and enjoy. And the festival atmosphere continues throughout the weekend.
It's an amazing 4 days of streamlined locomotives that have come from all over the country to help celebrate the heritage of streamlined locomotives from the 1930s to the 1950s.
Organizers have gone the extra mile to create opportunities for attendees to capture special moments, whether running on the high iron around the roundhouse, or even inside the diesels themselves.
You've got the cab tours going on, which is really cool because you can see these engines on the turntable, but there is a photo line. You can get them out from the yard, but you're still back from them. The cab tours, you are actually inside these locomotives. You get up close, personal, get to get inside the cab and see it from the engineer's perspective.
Now this diorama depicts a machine shop. That's a popular theme with modelers in fine-scale modeling, isn't it?
Especially Brian's popular. I mean, he loved it. In fact, when he passed away, he was starting to build another machine shop, and he's had that sort of in motion, but he loved...
What is it he liked about them?
It was all the... I mean, look at the detail in the middle of the building. Those machines are just... I've never seen... Those are by a company called CHB. It was Charlie Bromer was his name, and he was the absolute best at casting metal castings. Mm-hmm. They were just flawless, and that was a set that I had given him. Of course, we were in a contest together with this one, and he beat me with my machinery that I gave him to use his model. So
that's wonderful.
That was always one of those we kicked back and forth once in a while.
That's a terrific sort of rivalry to have with somebody, though, isn't it? One of the things that's important about doing these is having a uniform finish, isn't there?
Well, we tell people in our clinics that if you want to model to this level, there are 4 elements. It's color and texture, shadows and highlights. And you have to use those elements in everything you see, from the groundwork, from the scenery, into the buildings, into the figures. They all have those elements. And if you learn to master those elements, you can actually achieve this level of modeling.
So when you're doing that, are you taking each individual piece of junk, for instance?
Yes, well, when Brian modeled this was a model and a project. This was a model and a project. This was a model and a project. And over here, this was a whole model and a project itself, too. So it helps you get through. I mean, it's a very large task to do this much detail.
Sure.
So it helps you get through the task if you treat it all as submodels when you're doing it.
The other thing I can do is take my Scenic Cement, and what I'm going to do here, do it over the layout because it's all wet anyway, and I'm going to spray some Scenic Cement all over the top of that tree, and then I'm going to take some yellow fine turf. This is just yellow grass like you normally would put down on your lawn here, and I want these smaller openings because they're going to be much better for what I'm doing. And I'm just going to up high. I almost got too much in there, but we'll show you how anytime we make a mistake, we want to show you how to fix it. So a little too much sunlight on that, so that's okay. We can come back in here and let's grab, oh heck, let's try a weeds. That'll do it. A darker, brighter color. And what I might even do is respray that and make sure it's nice and wet so it'll hold. And I can put another color green on there. And again, I said earlier, you always put the holes on the upside, and I didn't do it. It would have been better if I had. There we go. So we get the holes on the upside, and it comes out looking better. So now what we can do is come in here. Let's see if we can't find a place. Actually, one right down in there would not be bad. Need to lose a little bit of its height. I can do that. The other thing I like to do is I don't like the little tiny pins that come on a lot of commercial trees, wood and scenes included, so I come in and I put a bamboo skewer in a hole that I drill. I clip that pin off, drill it, and then put the bamboo in it. And it gives me just a little bit more oomph for holding that tree in place.
You would stop on a specific piece of track on the layout, push a button, and the doors would fly open on the car, and the little guy would kick out a milk can. Well, the milk can had a magnet in it, and hopefully, if you did it right, it would kick it out and the can would stay upright. It kept people engaged with the trains, and every year there was something new.
This is a missile firing car, and I am mounting these 4 missiles for firing. These missiles really fire. Just give me the countdown and watch that freight car.
In the late 50s, early 60s, Lionel got into the space program big time, and you could launch Minuteman missiles from a boxcar. It was amazing the ideas these guys came up with.
From milk cars that would eject milk cans, to log cars that would dump logs, to gravel loaders, there was plenty to do. But one of John's favorite pieces is a working crane.
Then we take our piece that we have previously sprayed. We get out our handy can of, our rattle can of glue. I really have to remember to talk before I shake it, right? We have to get our rattle can of glue, give it a good shake, and then we're going to dust this. And then I'll show you what we do next. Okay. I'm going to do this not over top of my bag because I don't want to get the glue into that. And I just dust. Now you can put on a rubber glove if you are doing a lot of this because you don't want to get glue all over yourself. I like to buy boxes of vinyl exam gloves. Lee Valley and other hardware and woodworking stores will sell them because you use them when you're wearing, you know this, you use them for finishing and stuff like that. So we've got
when you painted it very solidly to get everything,
just
but
all
that's
around.
Just,
and now I've just dusted, I'm getting around the outside. You take this, you dump it into your thing, dump your leaf material over it like that. Bury the thing, turn it over, dump more leaf material. We're just getting this covered, right? You'll see some of it's falling off. Now, what are we going to do? How do we make bushes out of that? You shake it out. You can tap it even to knock off anything that isn't going to stick to the tree.
We've run a couple sample sessions, and it's been kind of fun. The last session we had is a trial session. There are 4 cities on this railroad, so 4 opportunities to stop and switch. We set up the criteria where we'd start a train from each end with about a 5-car train, and the individual operating the train would have to drop a car and pick up a car, his choice, at each location. And it took almost an hour to get from one end to the other, which is pretty good, considering how small the general area is. And then every once in a while we'd run a log train through to confuse things, and maybe a passenger train would come through with priority, and so that would cause a little upset and things to slow down, but it was kind of a fun operation. So I think there's some potential in operating on this railroad, as simple as it basically is, the track plan.
All right, first one is go ahead, back up.
Okay.
Wait a minute, there's a comment here. I think the first one is just go ahead.
Go ahead, yes. All right, so in daylight signals, the first thing that you're also taught in Switchman's class is there's an F plate on the engine. And that's kind of a dummy thing, but that's the front.
Right.
So if I wanted you to come ahead and your F plate was here, I would tell you to come here.
All right.
Okay.
So you'd be standing beside.
I'd be standing down track this way, and I'd say, come ahead, come this way. Now you don't change, you stay there. I'm going to walk around behind you.
What are you going to do?
Well, I'm going to give you the go ahead signal, but nobody's going to see it but the guys who are watching the TV.
Right.
This is go ahead. I'll do it for you out here. This is go ahead. But if I'm in front of you, which way are you going to go?
Backwards.
Sean has accomplished a lot in this shed in just 1 year. He credits his crew of operators for keeping him on track.
When I was about probably 13 and had my railroad in my bedroom, they all came over one night and were amazed that a 13-year-old kid could build a railroad like that. And I've known all these guys since then, and now I'm 32, and we've got the same group going. Surprisingly, we fit about 4 or 5 guys, including myself, and there's usually 2 to 3 crews, 2 men per crew. We've got an engineer and a brakeman, and op sessions start at 7 p.m. on a Thursday night, and we're usually out of here by 8:30, 9 o'clock. For a small railroad, there's a lot of switching, and everybody has a great time. And these are guys that have, huge garage railroads, and they come over here and they say they have more fun here than their own because they're so frustrated with them.
Hi everybody, welcome to Notch 8 on TrainMasters TV, a brand new series in which we're going to notch out your modeling to the max. We're going to show you great techniques for improving your diesels, improving your freight cars, you name it, it's going to be right here. Our first guest on the show is Ephraim Ellenbogen, and you may not know the name, but you definitely have seen his work. He was featured in the January 2015 RMC. Ephraim, welcome to the show. Great to have you here.
Thank you, Trevor. Thanks for having me in the studio.
What are we going to do today?
Well, we're going to start working on an old love of mine. This is something I built back in probably my college days, so 10 plus years ago.
Okay.
And I want to bring it up to the level of detail I'm able to do in my models now without destroying the original character of it. Because I have a lot of emotional attachment to it, so I don't want to strip it. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So what we're going to do is we're going to cover upgrading the chassis. We're going to put an Overland chassis on there. We're going to upgrade the fans so that they're see-through and you can see the blades. It's a very prominent feature on a model train. We're also going to upgrade the handrails. We're going to go from old Athearn stanchions and steel wire to Smoky Valley stanchions.
Some guys sometimes come here and say, boy, you've got an awful lot of buildings here. I said, did you ever look at old pictures of Boston or something? The buildings are sort of like Frankenstein type. You grab a little here, grab a little there, detail on a roof here, detail here from the building, and you put it all together and you come up with some interesting model. I used to have a lot of buildings that somebody made fun of them. They said they look like something in Walt Disney Studios. But that's what people seem to like.